Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly, and today I am going to be reacting to the Booker Prize Longlist in 2023. The information came out very early this morning, like 4 in the morning here in the US on the East Coast, and I have some thoughts. Now here's what I've noticed. I've noticed that a lot of people say the same thing because we're all reading the same copy, and so I'm going to try and take a little bit of a different approach, and we'll get into that when we get into the meat of the video. But hopefully I won't just be giving you the same type of copy as everyone else, and I'm going to be trying to dig in a teeny bit. So if that sounds good to you, if you love following book prizes and you like this video, I would encourage you to subscribe. Did I say who I am? I'm Shelly, and I really love book prizes and following book prizes, and you know, I love a good list. That is just totally, I've covered a lot of lists here on my channel, and so yeah, so I tend to be a bit opinionated. And anyways, but if you do like this kind of video, I would encourage you to subscribe, stick around, all that jazz. And without any further rambling on, let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. As I am reacting, I would really love to know where you're at. If you're watching this video, I'd love to for you to leave me a comment or a thumbs up to let me know where you're at. Comment would be best, but of course, I always appreciate a thumbs up and all of that kind of thing. But I want to know, like, where everybody else is while we are all reacting to this prize. I have lists, I have notes, y'all, I have notes. I was up at like 6 in the morning taking notes on the Booker, because I guess that's who I am now. So initially, I live in the US. The Booker is a UK based prize. Though it is about books being published in English during certain dates. So there are quite a few US authors, Irish authors, Canadian authors that are nominated and have won the prize. And so it does, for the English speaking world, it is a really big deal, though the prize is set in England. And so, or is set in the UK, or it's being ran by those across the pond for me. I'll say that. And that creates an interesting dynamic for me over here, because there are books that are just straight up unavailable. So I'm like, okay, I won't be getting my hands on that. And who knows, some of them are unavailable because they haven't been published here in the US yet, but they have been published in the UK. And some books are unavailable because I'm guessing they are actually being published by smaller publishing houses. They're like indie publishers, though I don't really know for sure. We'll actually start there, I think, because I was really surprised at how many books were completely and utterly not available to me as of today that I'm filming this, which is August 1st. So the first one was doing good. Okay, so if we're starting with books that are unavailable to me, we have the book. By the way, I got 0 of my predictions right, and I have to mention that the book I feel like was snubbed is Demon Copperhead by Barbara Kingsolver. Not okay. I really had to say that. But the book that I had initially put on my list, and then I couldn't find very much information, including reviews about it, unless it was like reviews by other booktubers. Because it's not being published in the US until October 17th. Now, of course, pub dates can change because books are long listed. Maybe they'll get moved up a little bit. But on October 17th, House of Doors is supposed to come out. And so I can't even get a sample on my Kindle or anything like that. And this is by Twan Eng. Twan Eng is a Malaysian writer. He was born in Malaysia. And he has been honored by with all of his books. They have made by the Booker. The Booker has honored all of this writer's books. So the first book was The Gift of Rain, and it was longlisted for the Booker Prize in 2007, or the book was published in 2007. And then his second novel, The Garden of Evening Mists, was published in 2012, and it was actually made it to the shortlist of the Booker Prize that year. It also, The Garden of Evening Mists, which I've never heard of. I've not read this author before, and I don't know much about him. So if you have, please tell me about him. Spill the tea. But he won the Man Asian Literary Prize. Why does it have to be man? Or what does that have to be in the title? Just saying. And then the Walter Scott Prize for historical fiction. So it won both of those things. There was a film adapted to from this novel, and now this is his third book, House of Doors, and it is now again longlisted for the Booker. Now I don't know anything about it, so I am going to read a little bit of copy because I cannot find much information when I look at my websites that I use and my review sites that I use for books. There isn't any reviews of this book yet, probably because it comes out on October 17th in the US. Here's what the copy says. It is 1921, and at Cassowary House in the Straits Settlements in Penang, Robert Hamlin is a well-to-do lawyer, his steely wife Leslie in a society hostess. Their lives are invigorated when Willie, an old friend of Robert's, comes to stay. Oh, this is a novel about Willie Somerset Maugham. Oh my gosh, I read a Maugham book a couple of years ago, and it was up at the villa. It was up at the villa, and it was great. Okay, so I guess one of the greatest writers of his day, Maugham, is going to be a character in this book. How fun is that? He is in an unhappy marriage, ill health, and business interests have gone badly awry. He is also struggling to write. So it's going to be about friendship, and that's so cool that it's about a writer. That's cool. And then of course the blurb on it, sort of like the big blurb on it, which you probably all have seen. So I'm sorry if I'm rehashing old news at this point, but it is a masterful novel of public morality and private truth, which examines love and betrayal under the shadow of empire. You know, I'm not gonna lie, that sounds really good. That sounds really, really good. So we have House of Doors, but again, it's not available for like a long time. All right, a book that's coming out in the future, again, it's coming out in the UK in September. I cannot find much about it, which is probably why, because it is forthcoming. But it's Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. And this, Lynch is, what is he doing? Lynch looks at the near future, presenting a dystopian vision of the decline of democracy in Ireland. So an Irish writer, I believe. I should be giving you all accurate information rather than inaccurate information. Sorry, y'all. Paul Lynch is an Irish writer who has published 5 novels, and he has won several awards. I have not heard of him or read anything by him, but because this is a forthcoming novel, I don't think I'll be able to get my hands on it before, you know, I don't know, maybe they'll again move up the pub date. One can only hope. Okay, now we have a Scottish author, again, another book that is, I believe, forthcoming. Or no, it was published in the UK, but I don't think it's come out here in the US yet. And it's In Ascension by Martin MacInnes. You can hear my children laughing in the background. Okay, so Martin MacInnes, or Ines. So this is about Lee, who grew up in Rotterdam, drawn to the waterfront as an escape from her unhappy home. Enchanted by the undersea world of her childhood, she excels in marine biology, traveling the globe to study ancient organisms, which sounds really cool. So it explores the natural world with wonder and reverie. This compassionate and deeply exquisite epic reaches towards to confront the great questions of existence while looking inward to illuminate the human heart. I mean, it sounds, you know, all copy sounds really good. That's what it's supposed to do. But again, I can't even get a sample of it on my Kindle, which is really frustrating. But again, it's a Scottish author. It sounds good. It's not someone that I've known before. And so we're just going with that. So now we have a debut author. This is, I feel like, the night crawling, the Layla Motleys of last year. And what was that book that everyone went bananas over? It didn't get longlisted, but it was shortlisted. Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Maddie Mortimer. So we have one of those writers on the list, and it is Viktoria Lloyd. Lloyd-Barlow, Viktoria Lloyd-Barlow. This is her debut novel. It was put out by Tinker Press. And she, debut author. This is what the copy says. So Sunday Forrester does things more carefully than most people. On quiet days, she must eat only white foods. Her etiquette handbook guides her through confusing social situations, and to escape, she turns to her treasury of Silicon folklore. The one thing very much out of her control is Dolly, her clever, headstrong daughter, on the cusp of leaving home. So it says that Viktoria, like we're friends. Viktoria Lloyd-Barlow has extensive personal, professional, and academic experience relating to autism. So I wonder if her book is going to be somewhere where we're exploring the experience of someone who might be on the spectrum. I would love to know when this book came out in the US, but I don't know. I don't know much information. I guess I could look that up. Okay, so if I wanted to read this, I could order this from Amazon UK. And I could order it from another distributor, but it would have to be the physical copy because I can't get the Kindle edition because my Kindle is associated with the US, the US market, which is fine. But it just means that it just makes it a little bit inaccessible for me. And so far, from what I can see, there is not a US release date. So maybe we'll see this eventually in the US market, but for now, it's just not there. Fine, it's fine. I feel a little snubbed as a US reader for the Booker Prize, okay? I feel a little snubbed. Okay, so Paul Murray's book, The Bee Sting. This is the chunkster on the list. Actually, a lot of these books are quite short. So this is going to be coming out on August 15th, at least in the US. It is 736 pages. This has been reviewed by all of the heavy hitters, so by Booklist, Library Journal, and Kirkus. It was also reviewed by Publishers Weekly, but the reason why I named those three first is because it actually has received a star review from Booklist, Library Journal, and Kirkus. So I am not familiar with Paul Murray. Let's learn more about him. He was born in 1975. Okay, so Paul Murray's another Irish author, and he has written four novels, and they are The Mark and the Void, Skippy Dies, and An Evening of Long Goodbyes. His last book came out in 2015, so it has been a minute, and it again will release in the US market on August 15th. And let's see if we can get a good review of it. Ooh, I like this. Okay, so Kirkus Reviews has a wonderful, a wonderful quote from it. So it says, the opening line says, a man had killed his family in another town, and rumors swirled about affairs, addiction, hidden files on his computer. So, and then it goes into the review, which says, are these portents of what awaits the Barnes family, who will inhabit the next 650 pages? Certainly they are struggling with an array of problems. In the wake of a recession, the Volkswagen dealership run by Dickie Barnes has seen sales plummet amid a surge in complaints about repair work. So it is about a struggling family, and I wonder if you're wondering, it sounds like you don't know if the opening line of a man who kills his family is about the Barnes family or not. So he hooks you in with that, and then you have 650 pages to figure it out. I always like the final sentence in a review because it tells you a lot about what the reviewer thought. And so this is what it says: a grim and demanding and irresistible anatomy of misfortune. I love that. Okay, and then the sentence before that, because they're kind of winding up, telling you the reviewer's final thoughts about it. And it says, at the same time, no moment, well, actually, let me back up a little further. It's hard not to feel the author is piling on. That's a little bit, that makes me feel a little uneasy. Not to wonder how the novel might have gained from some comic relief. At the same time, no moment or episode is implausible, and carried by Murray's fine, measured prose and uncanny plotting, the book presents a striking abundance of what, for too many, may be normal life. Oh my goodness, so it's like, I don't know. I feel like the reviewer is saying that maybe there should be some comic relief. I don't know. I'm unsure. But that comes out, that is forthcoming. The next book that is completely unavailable to me, although sort of ominously, it got one single. Oh, I gotta change my camera battery. Oh my goodness, I'll be back. Okay, so as I was saying, there was like this, when I was looking at books this morning, I was like, there's only a single one-star review for Study for Obedience by Sarah Bernstein. And this is, The Guardian has a really long article that I will leave linked down below. And it's a masterly meditation on life as a survivor. And then it's, you know, so it's like, it's an homage or part of the Me Too kind of movement. They're saying that Sarah Bernstein's novel, she is Montreal-born, Scottish-based author Sarah Bernstein. This is her second novel. But they're comparing her to Emma Cline, who I've never read, Sophie McIntosh, who I don't want to read after the wretched reviews of Cursed Bread. Sorry for those who have read it and loved it, but there were so many people who called it boring bread. You know who you are. I've read Rachel Yoder. She wrote Night Bitch. The idea was fine, but the execution was wretched. Sorry, Fraser. So let's think. It says that, you know, there's an unnamed narrator on the outset, and I wonder if it's supposed to be trying to capture this sort of dreamy, dreamy, slippery narrative about somebody who has lived through and is shaped by sexual assault and living through that. Her first novel is The Coming Bad Days. All right. So I guess her thing is like fickle narrators. That's a good word for it. A fickle narrator. Okay, so this paragraph I think reveals quite a bit. I feel like I changed my battery and then things moved and now I'm not in the center. Okay. There is a fundamental paradox in Bernstein's narrator or non-narrator. The young of many parasitically needy siblings. Since childhood, she has been trained by her brother to, quote, reorient all my desires in the service of another, end quote. It is hinted that he once abused her, and there remains a trace of something almost incestuous between them. I did like to dress him, which is quoted. She mentions passingly. And then the next paragraph says, but more is amiss. She and her brother belong to an obscure, though reviled, people who had been dogged across borders and put into pits. The country to which her brother has immigrated is where this persecution of their Jewish ancestors took place. The narrator encounters with modern-day anti-Semitism are captured acutely and absurdly. She is pointedly made the money-handling treasurer of organizations, and the townspeople recoil at her every move, whether a benign glare hello or eating in the town's diner which provokes a scream. I feel like this. Maybe I just can't read today, but I'm like, this copy, oh my goodness. Okay, so this is, again, The Guardian has this review, and I will try and link it down below if I remember, which I will, I think I will. I don't know, I tend to not like slippery narratives. I tend not to. I don't know, I'm just like, I don't know, but the thing is that it doesn't come out for a while, August 22nd here in the US, and so it's just like, I have some time to think about it, right? I have some time to think about it. What else do I have on my list that is unavailable? It's like I think six books were unavailable to me, which is just so frustrating. Oh, How to Build a Boat is supposed to come out on, and it's by Elaine Feeney, And it's supposed to come out in the US on November 7th. I'm like, oh my goodness, y'all. Oh my goodness. Okay, and it's being published by Harville Secker. I have literally no idea who that is. Let's see if I can find some deep reviews, some reviews about this. Oh, love that so much for me. Love that so much. How to build a boat. And then of course when I look it up, it's like YouTube videos on how to actually build a boat, like a sailboat or thing, you know. It's fine. It's fine. Elaine Feeney is going to be another Irish author. She's from West Ireland. She tells a story of how one boy on a unique mission transforms the lives of his teacher and brings the community together. I mean, on the surface, that sounds beautiful. Jamie O'Neill loves the color of red. He also loves tall trees, patterns, rain that comes with wind, the curvature of many objects, books with dust jackets, cats, rivers, and Edgar Allan Poe. At the age of 13, there are two things he especially wants in life: to build a perpetual motion machine. Oh, that's cool. I like those. I love perpetual motion machines. Okay, and to connect with his mother, Noelle, who died when he was born. In his mind, these things are intimately linked. And at his new school, where all else is disorienting and overwhelming, he finds two people who might be able to help him. Oh my goodness, I kind of like that. It kind of got me. This is her second novel. This is Miss Feeney's second novel. The first one was As You Were, which came out in 2021. Okay, I would really love to read a sample of this because I don't know if I want to read this. Okay, so let's think. What have we talked about so far? House of Doors, The Bee Sting, In Ascension, Prophet Song, All the Little Bird Hearts. Oh yeah, How to Build a Boat, and Study for Obedience. So all of those books are unavailable to me as I am sitting here in front of you, someone who's living in the US, unless I want to purchase it from a UK bookseller and have it shipped to me. All of these are going to be unavailable to me in the US. So, there was a couple of other things that I was going to mention. Oh yeah, so the rest I am going to try and be like, I have stuff. I have a Kindle. Which I don't know. I've been really liking actually getting in there and like digging into the books that I can actually sample from. And so, you know, it's just nice, okay? Next up we have Sean Hughes. The Pearl, I think it's called, or just Pearl. This one captured my attention a little bit. I have the sample on my Kindle. There was just something about it that I really quite liked. I think this is what got me. So this is her debut novel, and this is going to be inspired by a medieval poem of the same name. There was something about that I really, really liked, that it's inspired by medievalness, right? So this is how it starts. Chapter 1, The Wakes. And in the, just in between the chapter title, there's the little epigraph, and then the chapter starts. And the epigraph says, Adam and Eve and Pinch-Me went down to the river to bathe. Adam and Eve were drowned. Who do you think was saved? And then you would say Pinch-Me, and then you would pinch the person. I mean, I'm inserting that in. The joke itself is just, right there. Maybe we have an author with a bit of humor. Okay, at the end of every summer, I take Susanna back to my home village for a sort of carnival called the Wakes. There's a fancy dress parade and a few fairground rides. A whole ox is roasted on a spit in the playing field. When I was a child, there was a thing called the pram race. The rules of the race were a team of 2 men to push a pram to the next village and back, one running, one in the pram. They both had to drink a pint of beer at every pub along the way. Each 2-man team dressed as mother and baby, one of them in a grotesque old nightie filled with balloon breasts, with smeared on lipstick and hair curlers, the other in a bib, bonnet, and bath towel nappy. When they set off, the giant baby would be in the pram, pushed by the man in curlers and lipsticks. and lipstick. But to stand any chance of winning, they needed to take it in turns. So by the first corner, they would swap over, the baby leaning out of the pram, the mother leaping in, balloons popping, nappies unraveling, and the bearded baby would take his turn pushing the bearded mother. There's no pram race now. The roads are too dangerous, so the police stopped it. Okay. That actually, I don't know, maybe she's got a bit of humor in her because of the joke and of this opening scene, which is making me chuckle. Okay, so let me see this is what the copy says. Marianne is 8 years old when her mother goes missing, left behind with her baby brother and grieving father in a ramshackle house on the edge of a small village. She clings to the fragmented memories of her mother's love, the smell of fresh herbs, the games they played, and the songs and stories of her childhood. And then she's trying to figure out the disappearance of her mother, discovering a medieval poem called Pearl. Okay, I'm actually quite interested in this. This is actually capturing my attention a little bit. Okay, I like when the author speaks for herself, and I felt like she did, and she did a really good job of it. What do you all think? The next book I'm going to be looking at is from an author that I've actually heard of, Paul Harding. His book, This Other Eden, has now been honored. He won the Pulitzer for his book Tinkers, I believe. Haven't read the book, but the Pulitzer is truly like my bread and butter. It's my prize that I love so much. He is an American author. And he taught writing at the Harvard University and the University of Iowa. So this is inspired by historical events, the story of Apple Island, an enclave of the coast of the United States where castaways in flight from society and its judgments have landed and built a home. Okay, so this is how it starts. I've looked at this a tiny bit. So there's this italic section in which it sort of tells the backstory, and then it brings you up to speed to like the present day in which we're going to explore the novel. I don't think it's actually present day, but you'll see what I mean. Benjamin Honey, American Bantu Igbo, born enslaved, freed or fled at 15, only he ever knew. Ship's carpenter, aspiring orchardist, arrived on the island with his wife Patience, née Gafferty, Galway girl, in 1793. He brought his bag of tools, gifts from a grateful captain he had saved from drowning or plunder, from a ship on which he had mutinied and murdered the captain, depending on who said, and a watertight wooden box containing 12 junte pouches. Each pouch held seeds from a different variety of apple. And then, so this goes on like this backstory of Benjamin Honey. However, so that was in like this, 1790s. And then all of a sudden we're in 1911. So this is where the italics part ends and we're catching up in a sense. So on the first day of spring, 1911, Esther Honey, great-granddaughter of Benjamin and Patience, dozed in her rocking chair by the wood stove in her cabin on Apple Island. Snow poured from the sky. Wind scoured the island and smacked the windows like giant hands and kicked the doors like a giant heel and banked the snow up the north side of the shack until it reached the roof. The island, a granite pebble in the frigid Atlantic shadows. The clouds so low their bellies scraped on the tip of the Penobscot pine at the top of the bluff. Okay, so then you're like, that's where I think we're actually going to be sitting in the story, is in 1911 with Esther Honey, after Apple Island has been established. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I actually ordered this from my library. It's very short. And I don't know, there's just something about it that I thought, that sounds interesting. Along with Paul Tinkers, another author that I think is more well-known on this list, or that is more well-known on this list, is Sebastian Barry. And his book, Old God's Time, has made it. And so I've not read a Sebastian Barry book. He is an Irish author, and so Ireland's really getting represented over here. I don't know much about this book. At the beginning of the novel, it is, "Will the unicorn be willing to serve thee?" This is the book of Job. So this is the first chapter. This is how it starts. This is how it starts. I had to do that a couple of times. Sometime in the 60s, old Mr. Tumulty had put up an incongruous lean-to addition to his Victorian castle. It was a granny flat of modest size, but with some nice touches befitting a punitive relative. The carpentry, at least, was excellent, and one wall was encased in something called beauty board, its veneer capturing light and mutating it into soft brown darknesses. The second paragraph is quite long, so I'm going to read just a tiny bit from the second paragraph. This premises, with its little echoing bedroom, its tiny entrance hall, a few hundred books, be still my heart, still in their boxes, be less still my heart, and his 2 old gun cases from his army days, was where Tom Kettle had, in his own words, washed up. The books, remembering, if sometimes these days he did not, his old interests, the history of Palestine, of Malaya, old Irish legends, discarded gods, and random matters that at one time or another he had struck his inquisitive nose into. The stirring sound of the sea below the picture, the stirring sound of the sea below the picture window had been an initial allure, but everything about the place pleased him. The mock Gothic architecture, including the pointless castellation on the roofline, the square of hedges in the garden that provided a windbreak and sun trap, and then it continues on to describe all the stuff. So let's see if this, I'm like, I don't know what this is about. I'm still like not quite sure. Times of old past, I don't know. He's a 2-time Booker finalist. All right. So Library Journal and Kirkus gave this book a starred review, and this is how Kirkus is describing it. So it says, "This complex quasi-mystery centers on a former cop's reckoning with the damage caused by sexually abusive priests." Okay. I'm not sure about all this, okay? The narrator is Tom Kettle, a 66-year-old widower living in Dalkey, Ireland. He's 9 months into retirement from a decorated career with the Dublin police when 2 Garda officers ask him to look at reports from an old unsolved murder case he worked on years earlier. Okay, and then the case is going to be a priest under investigation for pedophilia has made disturbing accusations regarding the murderer. Okay. Well, I don't know if this is going to be for me. Actually, this is actually quite illuminating. I'm just unsure, okay? I'm a little unsure. It's a little, I'm just like, what do you all think? I'll throw it back to you. I'm thinking that this might not be a book for me because I struggle with stuff like that. I don't know. I have little boys. I don't like things that get in and amongst me, and I feel like that would really get in and amongst me. So I try and make sure that I don't read things that disturb the heck out of me, okay? I'm going to end with the book that interests me the most. So the next book is A Spell of Good Things by Adébáyọ Adébáyọ. So she is a Nigerian writer. How wonderful. And I actually have the first bits of it on my Kindle, which is wonderful. The first chapter is called Kinsman, and it starts off with a quote. "When an elephant walks over a hard rock outcrop, we do not see his footprints. When a buffalo walks over a hard rock outcrop, we do not see his footprints." Carl was angry. This is how the first chapter starts. Carl was angry. After one of her apprentices read the notice of the meeting out loud to her, she threw it across the room into a dustbin. Some politician's wife wanted to give a talk to the Tailoring Association, and their president had agreed to welcome the woman during their next meeting. And, of course, the president thought it meant something to mention that this politician's wife was the daughter of a tailor. Caro was almost sure this was a lie. Those people would claim to be your kinsmen if it would help them get into power. It irritated her that they would waste time listening to this woman campaigning for her husband. This was not why she paid her tailoring. This is not why she paid her tailoring association dues. Oh, well, she has got some spice. I kind of like that. That was good. I like that. That had energy, you know? That had energy. This received a star review from Publishers Weekly. Ooh, it says it packs a powerful punch. Well, I could see that. I don't know, her writing has like this, I feel like it already has this energy to it. I like that. I like that. I know my library already had this, so I ordered it. Although books I could order, I did, which weren't very many. You know, so many people are in two camps about whether a book is known or unknown, and I don't know, my own selfishness is like, I want books that are accessible to me. I want books that I can access immediately right now on my Kindle at the library, that I can like dig my teeth into. That's what I want as a reader. More broadly, you know, it's like, it's so good to acknowledge writers who wouldn't have been acknowledged if it weren't for this prize. It's so cool that smaller presses are getting their books out there and that they're getting acknowledged in this long list. Like, I do feel in two minds about it, but my most selfish and my most the initial reaction that bubbles up from the depths of within me are like, I cannot believe they have so many titles that are unavailable to me. And, you know, I sort of want to stomp around like a child, but, you know, so it's fine. I can see both sides of the coin, okay? I can. The next book is If I Survive You by Jonathan Escoffery. Now, unfortunately, when I first was digging in, you know, we're talking about initial impressions, reactions, I was like, a book of interconnected short stories is not my thing. I mean, it just isn't. Like, it's not the thing I gravitate towards. It's not the thing I really want to read. So, you know, he's an American writer. He writes about American life that is both gruesome and hopeful. All right. Barbed with humor. That's what it says, barbed with humor. Is this going to be like the Percival Everett on the list? Percival Everett last year, The Trees was so good. It was so good. It was so good. Okay, well, homeboy, oh my gosh, Jonathan Escoffery, oh my goodness. He got 4-star reviews. He's a first-time author, a debut author, Jamaican-American living in Miami. Maybe that's what he's writing about. Maybe that's not him. So he got a star review from Booklist, Publishers Weekly, Library Journal, and Kirkus. That's quite the feat. The first story is Influx. So this is what it says. It begins with, where are you? Hollered from the perimeter of your front yard when you're 9, younger probably. You'll be asked again throughout junior high and high school, then out in the world, in strip clubs, in food courts, over the phone, and in the various menial jobs. Second person, interesting. Okay, maybe this is the 7 Moons of Molly Alameda. Okay, then it says, the askers are expectant. They demand immediate gratification. Their question lifts you slightly off at your pre-adolescent toes, tilting you not just because you don't understand it, but because even if you did understand this question, you wouldn't yet have an answer. Perhaps it starts with, what language is your mother speaking? This might be the genesis, not because it comes first, but because at least on this occasion, you have some context for the question when it arrives. So this is a collection that focuses on one story's tempest-tossed journeys in Jamaica and Florida. Okay, and then it, you know, like the reviews are like, it keeps its readers in its grip. It's supposed to be so good. It's punctuated with humor and it has savvy and a rich sense of place. Okay, well, I don't know. I'm like more interested. I don't know. It's okay. I don't have to make my decision right now. This is initial thoughts. The book that actually, you know, by the description alone, that makes me most interested in it is Western Lane by Chetna Maroo. She's a Kenyan author that lives in London, and this is her first novel, I believe, debut novel. The reason why is that it's because it's about sisterhood and a young girl who's you know, trying to grapple with grieving her mother, and it's about squash, the game, the sport squash. And I think what I like about that is that I don't know anything about squash, so it could have a high learning curve for me, which I quite like. And then also, sorry, I'm like getting it loaded on my Kindle. So, and what I like about that is that, you know, I could be like, I don't know, I like when people sort of explain the rules, and it's like, I don't know, like I'm learning something about the world that I didn't know before, kind of thing. Okay, so I have no idea about the writing style. I didn't dive into this at all, but it's also incredibly short. It's like 150 pages. So I don't know, we'll see. This feels like the Cecile Pinn book, Wandering Souls. It was a very short book by an unknown author. It was a debut novel. This was from the Women's Prize. So I feel like there's some overlapping connection with that. So this is, so it says chapter 1. There is no, you know, epigraph or anything. I think that's what it's called. Epigraph? Oh, you would think I would know. I've been doing this for a while. I don't know if you've ever stood in the middle of a squash court on the tee and listened to what is going on next door. What I'm thinking of is the sound from the next court of the ball hit clean and hard. It's a quick, low pistol shot of a sound with a close echo. The echo, which is the ball striking the wall of the court, is louder than the shot itself. This is what I hear when I remember the year after our mother died and our father had us practicing at Western Lane 2, 3, 4 hours a day. It must have been an evening session after school. The first time I noticed it, my legs so tired I didn't know if I could keep going, and I was just standing on the tee with my racket, head down, looking at the side wall that was smudged with the washed out marks from the balls that had skimmed its surface. Okay, I kind of like it, but then I'm also like predisposed to like it. In that, like, I don't know, like it just has notes, and it just sounds like a book I'd really like. Okay, it just does. Okay, I'm gonna see what reviews said. I also ordered this from my library, I believe. I also like that it's immediately available. It's short. It's a coming of age story. Okay, so it only had it's only been reviewed by Kirkus, and it got a starred review. And let's go to the end sentence. But Gopi, which is the main narrator, Gopi's retrospective narration accumulates slow layers of heartbreak as the story proceeds, patiently building up an entire landscape of emotion through gestures, silences, and overheard murmurings in the dark. A debut novel of immense poise and promise. I don't know. That sounds just like, it sounds really good, right? It sounds really good. Okay, so that's what I could get my hands on, or that's what I could, like, suss out.
Can I have another one?
Mm-hmm. I gotta go. I'm supposed to be somewhere. I was supposed to be somewhere a few minutes ago, and I wanted to do this video, and I wanted to do it right. And so I'm here hanging out with y'all, and there's somewhere I need to be. But, let me know if your thoughts. Thank you for just hanging out and just, going through this with me. I know that I took my time, and I didn't come to you with all of the answers, but came to you with the mood of exploring. So, thank you for letting me do that. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here and spending this time with me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye!